Intro. The moment they didn't want you to hear. There are moments in life when silence is safe, but safety doesn't change anything. There are moments when your heart is pounding, your hands are shaking, and every part of you is screaming, don't say it. And yet deep down you know that if you stay silent, you will carry that weight forever. That's the moment I'm talking about. The one they didn't want you to hear. Not because it was wrong, not because it was dangerous in the way they tell you it was, but because truth has a way of shaking walls. Truth has a way of moving the ground under people's feet. And some people would rather live in a crumbling house than admit it's falling apart. You felt it before. The tension in a room when you say something everyone's been avoiding. The glance across the table. The shift in the air. That's the power of truth. It doesn't need an army. It doesn't need a stage. All it needs is one voice that refuses to stay quiet. Here's the thing. That moment will come for you too. Maybe it already has. And when it does, you'll have two choices. You can protect your comfort, or you can protect your soul. You can say what's easy, or you can say what's needed. But you can't have both. Life will put you in situations where your words will cost you. Friends may walk away. Opportunities may close. Some people will look at you differently. But the cost of saying nothing is far higher. Because when you stay silent in the face of truth, you're not just protecting them, you're betraying yourself. The people who change the world are never the ones who keep their heads down and their mouths shut. They are the ones who stand in the storm, even when their voice shakes. They are the ones who understand that silence might feel safe today, but it will strangle your soul tomorrow. The moment they didn't want you to hear might be the moment you were born for. The question is, will you speak, or will you let the weight of unspoken words follow you for the rest of your life? 47 seconds, that shook the room. 47 seconds, less than a minute. That's all it took for the air to change. You could hear it, the stillness, the tension, the heartbeat of every person listening. Someone stood up and spoke words that had been locked away for too long. No shouting, no long speech. Just truth, raw, unpolished, and undeniable. And in that short time, people shifted in their chairs. Some looked down, some stared straight ahead. Some leaned in as if they were hearing something forbidden, because they were. Not forbidden by law, but by fear. And in less than a minute, the comfort of that room cracked open. It doesn't take hours to start a fire. Sometimes, all it takes is less than a minute of courage. When truth enters, comfort leaves. Truth is a door that can't stay half open. When you speak it, something changes. Not just in others, but in you. People don't always want truth. They want what makes them feel safe. They want words that fit neatly into their version of the world. But the truth doesn't fit neatly. It kicks down walls. It moves furniture. It rearranges the whole room. And with every rearrangement, comfort packs its bags and walks out. That's why people resist it. Because comfort feels like a warm blanket, but it can also be a heavy chain. And some would rather stay chained than face the cold wind of reality. The question is, will you let their comfort become your cage? Or will you speak what needs to be said, even if the room gets colder? Why the most powerful words feel the most dangerous. Think about the moments that changed your life. Chances are they weren't built on small talk or polite agreement. They were built on words that carried weight. Words that made your heart race before you said them. Words that felt like stepping off a ledge. That's why powerful words feel dangerous, because they demand something from you. They pull you out of hiding. They make you visible. Invisibility comes with risk. But here's the secret. If your words feel risky, it's probably because they matter. The most powerful sentences you'll ever speak will scare you. Not because they're wrong, but because they're true. If you had 47 seconds, what would you say? You don't need a stage, a spotlight, or a microphone. You just need time and the courage to use it. If you had 47 seconds where the world would actually listen, what would you say? Would you speak about something safe, something polite, something easy? Or would you tell the truth you've been carrying? The one that has been eating away at you in the quiet hours of the night. The truth is, you already have those 47 seconds. Every day in small moments you're given the chance to speak. You pass strangers. You sit across from friends. You hold the phone to your ear. You have time. The only question is, will you use it? Speaking truth The courage tax. You must pay. Courage isn't free. Speaking truth will cost you. It will cost you the comfort of fitting in. It will cost you the approval of people who only like you when you stay quiet. But think about this. Everything worth having has a price. Peace of mind, self-respect, freedom. These are not free gifts. They are earned. And the currency is courage. Every time you choose to speak truth, you are paying that tax. And yes, it feels heavy. Yes, it might leave you standing alone. But it also leaves you lighter, freer, and unchained from the weight of silence. You can spend your whole life avoiding that cost, and you will still pay in regret. Or you can pay it now and walk out knowing you didn't sell your soul for comfort. The courage tax is high, but silence is bankruptcy. Section 1. The power of a few words. We often think that change requires massive speeches, years of planning, or a lifetime of effort. But history, personal growth, and even revolutions often begin with something much smaller. A few words. Words spoken at the right time, in the right way, can shift the direction of a life, a family, a community, or even a nation. Most people underestimate their own voice because they measure its worth by size, not by impact. They think, I'm not a leader, I'm not an expert, I'm just one person. But one person, with the right words, can tip the scale. Words are like seeds. They don't have to be large to grow into something powerful. You can plant a truth today that will take root in someone's mind and change the way they live forever. But the opposite is also true. You can plant doubt, fear, or hate that spreads like weeds. This is why a few words are never just words. They are energy. They move through time and space, affecting people you'll never meet, shaping events you'll never see. And once they're out, you can't pull them back. The choice is yours. Will your words build or break, heal or harm, hide or reveal? The power is in your mouth, but the courage is in your heart. One spark can burn or illuminate. A spark is small. You can barely hold it before it disappears. But what it touches decides its destiny. Touch dry wood, and the spark becomes a fire that destroys. Touch a candle, and it becomes light that guides. Your words are no different. A careless sentence can burn bridges you'll never rebuild. A thoughtful truth can light someone's path for years to come. The danger is that most sparks don't look dangerous at first. You think it's just one comment. You think it's harmless. But once a spark catches, you don't get to choose how big it becomes. So when you speak, ask yourself, am I burning or illuminating? Am I starting destruction or guiding someone out of the dark? Because the same spark that warms can also consume. And once it's loose, you can't take it back. The world turns on moments, not monologues. You don't need hours to change a life. The world doesn't wait for long speeches. It moves when something is said that can't be ignored. Think about it. Revolutions, breakthroughs, turning points. They often hinge on a single phrase, a short answer, a moment of truth that changes everything. Rosa Parks said, no. Martin Luther King Jr. said, I have a dream. Neil Armstrong said, one small step for man. These weren't hours-long explanations. They were moments, sharp, clear, and unforgettable. The same is true in your life. You don't always get a long window to prepare. Sometimes the moment comes suddenly. Someone asks you a question. Someone challenges your values. Someone presents an opportunity to speak truth, and you have seconds to respond. The people who make a difference are the ones who are ready for those moments, not with rehearsed speeches, but with a clear heart and the courage to speak it. History moves. When someone finally speaks, silence can keep the world stuck for years. Whole communities can live in denial, pretending problems don't exist. Families can carry secrets for generations, and nothing changes until someone speaks. When someone finally says, this is wrong, or this needs to change, they break the dam. At first it's just a trickle of truth, but soon others join in. The words grow, and history shifts. It's tempting to wait for someone else to be the first. It feels safer to let others take the hit. But waiting for someone else is how injustice survives. It's how lies keep breathing. Every movement, every breakthrough, every act of courage started because one person spoke when it was easier to stay quiet. And the world is always waiting for that next person. Would you risk comfort to tell the truth? Truth is expensive. The price is often your comfort, your ease, and sometimes your relationships. That's why many people avoid it.
not because they can't see it, but because they don't want to pay for it. When you speak the truth, you risk becoming the person others whisper about. You risk losing invitations, losing approval, losing the ability to blend in. But you also gain something priceless, the knowledge that you didn't betray yourself. The truth is heavy when you carry it alone, but it's even heavier when you keep it locked inside. At some point you have to decide which weight you'd rather carry, the burden of speaking or the burden of silence. Comfort feels good in the moment, but truth feels right forever. Silence feels safe, until the cost arrives.
Silence can feel like a shield. It protects you from arguments, from conflict, from the discomfort of standing out. But that shield comes with a hidden bill, and it always arrives. That bill might be regret. It might be watching harm continue because you didn't speak up. It might be waking up one day and realizing that you've trained yourself to hide, to shrink, to disappear. The truth is, silence isn't safety. It's a slow surrender. And the longer you pay with silence, the more it takes from you. One day the cost will come due. And when it does, you'll wish you had spoken while you still had the chance. Section 2, why truth feels like a threat. Truth has a way of walking into the room and changing the temperature. It's not always loud. It doesn't need fireworks or grand entrances. But when it's spoken, everyone feels it. A tightening in the air, a shift in the eyes, a pause in the conversation. The reason truth feels like a threat is simple. It interrupts the comfort people have built around their beliefs. It questions the stories they've been telling themselves. It exposes the parts of life they'd rather keep hidden. And because of that, truth rarely gets a welcome mat. It gets resistance, avoidance, sometimes even hostility. Not because it's wrong, but because it forces change. And change for most people is scary. If you want to speak truth, you need to accept this reality. You're not walking into applause. You're walking into a battlefield where the fight isn't against you. It's against the reflection you're holding up to the world. Truth is a mirror, but not everyone likes their reflection. Truth doesn't create flaws. It just reveals them. It's a mirror that shows people what's really there, without filters, without flattery, and not everyone wants to see that. Some people have spent years decorating their image, building a version of themselves that hides the cracks. They've painted over pain, denial, and mistakes. When truth shows up, it peels the paint back. It makes them face what they've been avoiding, and that's why they resist it. Not because the mirror is wrong, but because they're not ready to face what's staring back. If you're the one holding that mirror, you have to be ready for their reaction. Some will thank you, some will hate you, but remember, the mirror isn't the problem. The reflection is. Discomfort is proof you've hit something real. You can say 100 words and get nods of agreement, but say the one sentence that matters, the one that cuts through the noise and the room goes quiet. That silence, that shifting in seats, that's discomfort, and it's the sign you've touched something real. Discomfort means the truth has landed. It's unsettled the ground. It's poked at the part of someone's life they didn't want touched. And while they might not thank you in the moment, it's often the first step toward real change. We've been taught to avoid discomfort, to smooth it over, to keep things nice. But growth doesn't come from nice. It comes from the moments when truth stings enough to wake us up. So when you feel that tension after speaking truth, don't back down. That's not failure. That's impact. The backlash fear that changed most voices. Most people don't stay silent because they lack something to say. They stay silent because they fear what will happen after they say it. Backlash can take many forms. Being ignored, being mocked, being excluded, being targeted. And in the mind, those possibilities grow into monsters bigger than they really are. This fear changed the voices of people who could make a difference. It convinces them that silence is safer, that speaking up will destroy them. And so nothing changes. The lies keep spreading. The harm keeps growing. The truth is, backlash is real, but so is the cost of staying quiet. Every time you swallow your words out of fear, you hand your power to the very thing you're afraid of. Stop waiting for applause. When you deliver unwanted truth, Speaking truth isn't a performance. You're not there for cheers or approval. If you wait for applause, you'll water down your words until they're safe enough for everyone and meaningless to anyone. Unwanted truth rarely gets instant appreciation. In fact, it often gets the opposite. People might roll their eyes, avoid you, or argue, but over time those same words can echo in their mind when no one else is around. That's the goal. Not to win a round of clapping hands, but to plant a truth that grows in private. If you need instant praise to keep going, you won't last in the fight for truth. Speak because it's right, not because it's popular. Silence doesn't just protect you, it starves the world of change. Silence might keep you out of trouble, but it also keeps the world from hearing what it needs most. Every time someone with the truth stays quiet, a chance for change disappears. Think about the times you've learned something that changed how you saw the world. That moment only existed because someone chose to speak. Now imagine if they hadn't. The truth you carry could be the spark for someone else's breakthrough. The warning that saves a life. The push that sets someone free. But it can't do any of that if it stays locked inside. When you choose silence, you don't just protect yourself. You deny others the chance to see what you see. And that's a cost far greater than any backlash you might face. Section 3. 47 seconds of courage. Courage isn't measured by the length of your speech or the size of the crowd. It's measured in the moments when fear tells you to stay silent, but your heart tells you to speak. And those moments are often shorter than you think. You don't need an entire afternoon to be brave. You don't need months to prepare. Sometimes all you have is a window that will close before you even realize it's open. And in that small space of time, a minute, half a minute, 47 seconds, the decision you make will echo far beyond the moment itself. The people who leave a mark on history aren't the ones who always had the most time. They're the ones who used the little time they had. 47 seconds might not sound like much, but when filled with truth, it can be enough to change everything. Courage doesn't need hours, just a heartbeat. You've been told to wait until the right time, but courage doesn't wait. Courage shows up in the middle of your fear, in the middle of your shaking hands, in the middle of the moment when you feel least ready. Sometimes courage is nothing more than one deep breath, followed by words you can't hold back anymore. It's the choice to let your truth out before doubt talks you out of it. One heartbeat can separate silence from action, and if you waste it, the moment may never come back. That's why those who make a difference don't wait for long speeches or perfect settings. They speak in the gap between fear and regret, and that gap is often just a single heartbeat wide. The soldier, the student, and the one who said no. Think about the soldier who stands up against an order that crosses a line, knowing the cost might be their career, or worse. The student who raises their voice when a teacher says something cruel or unfair. The worker who tells their boss, "This isn't right," even though it could cost them their job. These moments are not grand ceremonies. They don't happen in perfect conditions. They are raw, risky, and short. But in that short time, a person's courage becomes bigger than their fear. The soldier, the student, the worker, they didn't act because they had hours to think. They acted because they knew that silence would follow them for the rest of their lives. And they chose to live with the cost of courage rather than the weight of regret. 47 seconds can define you. Your whole life might be remembered for a single choice you make in less than a minute. Those 47 seconds will reveal who you really are when the pressure is on. You can talk about your values all you want, but when the moment comes, words won't matter. Action will. That's when the real you steps forward. Will you stay silent because it's safer, or will you speak because it's right? It's not about the number of people watching. It's about the fact that you are watching yourself. And when the dust settles, you have to live with the person you see in the mirror. 47 seconds can define your legacy. The question is, will it be defined by courage or by fear? 47 seconds can rewrite your story. Maybe you've been silent before. Maybe you've had chances to speak and walked away.
that doesn't have to be the end of your story. 47 seconds of courage can undo years of silence. In less than a minute, you can shift from the person who stays quiet to the person who stands. One decision, one choice, can change how you see yourself and how others see you. It doesn't matter how many times you've backed down in the past. What matters is that the next time your moment comes, you choose differently. You take the breath, you open your mouth, you say the thing that scares you, and in doing so you rewrite who you are. Don't wait for perfect. Speak in the moment you have. If you're waiting for the perfect setting, the perfect words, or the perfect timing, you'll be waiting for. Courage isn't about perfection, it's about presence. Moments come and go quickly. If you hesitate too long, they vanish. And once they're gone, you can't get them back. The room shifts, the opportunity fades, and you're left wondering what might have happened if you had just spoken. Perfection is the enemy of courage. The people who change things don't wait until everything is lined up. They use the moment they have. 47 seconds is more than enough when you fill it with truth. So stop rehearsing for a someday that may never come. The time to speak isn't later. It's the moment your heart tells you it's now. Section 4. They will try to cut the mic. If you decide to speak the truth, you have to understand something. Not everyone will clap, and not everyone will let you finish. There will be people who do everything they can to drown you out, to change the subject, to make sure your voice doesn't carry. They'll interrupt, they'll talk over you, they'll twist your words. They might even try to erase you completely from the conversation. And if you're not ready for that, it can feel like the ground has been ripped out from under you. But this is the reality for every truth teller. The louder your truth rings, the harder some will work to turn down the volume. And the more powerful your words are, the more desperate their attempts will become. You can't control whether they try to cut the mic, but you can control whether you stop speaking. Every truth teller eventually hears static. There comes a point in every voice's journey when the clear signal starts breaking up. That's when you know you've stepped into territory that makes people uncomfortable. The static might be literal interruptions, or it might be the subtle kind, the cold shoulders, the sudden changes in conversation, the doors that quietly close. It's tempting to think the static means you're wrong, but it usually means you're right. It means your words are landing somewhere that they're not supposed to. They're shaking loose the comfortable lies people have built their lives around. Static is a sign you've tuned into the right frequency. The question is, will you let the noise push you off the channel? Or will you speak even clearer, so those who need to hear you can't miss it? Opposition means your words are worth hearing. Nobody works hard to silence words that don't matter. If people are pushing back, it's because you've touched something important. You've brought light to a place that was comfortable in the dark.
Opposition isn't a sign to stop, it's a sign to keep going. The people who make the most difference are often the ones who face the most pushback. Not because they're reckless, but because they're hitting the nerve that needs to be hit. If you speak and everyone nods politely, you probably haven't said much at all. But if you speak and it stirs the room, makes them angry, makes others think, that's when you know your words are alive. If they're trying to shut you up, you've already been heard. Silencing someone is not a reaction to words that go unnoticed. It's a reaction to words that have already landed. If people are trying to shut you down, it means they've heard you loud and clear, and they're worried about what will happen if others hear you too. That's why attempts to erase your voice are often the strongest proof that your message matters. They wouldn't waste the energy if your words were harmless. So when they interrupt, when they talk over you, when they try to drown you in noise, remember this. The very act of trying to silence you is confirmation that you've already reached them. The message is in, the seed is planted, and seeds grow even in silence. Expect resistance, don't let it blindside you. One of the fastest ways to lose courage is to believe the lie that truth will always be welcomed. If you walk in expecting open arms, you'll crumble the first time someone pushes back. You need to expect resistance, not because you're looking for a fight, but because you're wise enough to know it's coming. And when it comes, you won't be shocked. You won't take it as a personal attack that means you should stop. You'll see it for what it is, the natural reaction of people being forced to face what they don't want to see. When you expect resistance, you can push through it. When you're blindsided by it, you retreat. The choice is yours. Will you lower your voice or make them turn it up? When people try to shut you down, you have two options. You can lower your voice until they don't hear you anymore, or you can speak so clearly and consistently that they have to turn the volume up just to deal with you. Lowering your voice may feel safe in the moment, but it tells the world your truth wasn't worth standing for. Speaking louder, not in anger but in certainty, tells the world you're not afraid to be heard, even if it makes people uncomfortable. In the end, the fight isn't about the volume of your voice. It's about the strength of your conviction. The mic can be cut, but the message can still carry. The question is, will you keep speaking until they can't ignore you anymore? Section 5, your truth, your responsibility. It's not about them, it's about you. When you speak the truth, it's tempting to obsess over how others will react. The praise you might win, the criticism you might endure, the bridges you might burn. But truth-telling is not a popularity contest. It's a mirror you hold to your own soul. Speaking up isn't about whether they will applaud. It's about whether you can live with yourself if you stay silent. The real danger isn't in offending someone, it's in betraying your own conscience. Every day you face a choice. Will you live aligned with your values, or will you shrink to fit someone else's comfort zone? The world will always have mixed reactions, but you are not responsible for their acceptance, only for your honesty. The question is never, will they like me? The question is, will I respect myself when the day is done? Speak your truth because you need to hear it first, and because your silence is a debt only your integrity will pay. If you carry a torch, don't hide it. If you've been given insight, wisdom, or a perspective that could help someone else, it is not a keepsake to hide in a drawer. It's a torch, and torches exist to be lit. Too many people keep their fire to themselves out of fear. Fear of judgment, fear of backlash, fear of stepping into the spotlight. But hiding your truth doesn't protect you. It only ensures the world stays darker than it has to be. A single flame can light 100 others without losing a fraction of its own glow. Your voice might be the spark that keeps someone from giving up, or the light that helps them see a path they thought didn't exist. If you bury that light, you aren't just avoiding risk, you are withholding hope. Carry your torch high, even when the wind tries to snuff it out. Because somewhere someone is waiting for a signal in the dark, and you might be the only one holding it. Stop waiting for a stage, speak where you stand. Far too many people are waiting for the right moment, the big stage, the perfect audience, the official microphone. But history's turning points rarely waited for perfect conditions. They happened in small rooms, in quiet confrontations, in whispered conversations where one person refused to let a lie pass unchallenged. You don't need a spotlight to make an impact. You need conviction, right where you are. Speak up in the meeting where no one wants to address the obvious. Tell the truth at the dinner table where everyone else is pretending not to see the elephant in the room. Hold the line in the moments where no one is clapping, because that's where courage is built. If you wait for the perfect conditions, you'll wait forever, and your silence will become its own prison. Change doesn't just happen on grand stages. It's forged in the ordinary moments when ordinary people refuse to be silent. Every great leader started with a small audience. Before the crowds came, before the cameras rolled, before the names were written in history, every great leader began with only a handful of listeners, sometimes only one. They didn't start with influence, they started with integrity. The most powerful voices didn't wait for the masses. They spoke when no one was looking, when the applause was absent and the risk was high. Your truth doesn't need millions to matter. It needs consistency, courage, and a refusal to dilute its strength for comfort's sake. Speak to the few who are listening, even if they can be counted on one hand. Influence spreads quietly before it spreads widely. And when the moment comes that more people are paying attention, you'll already have the strength, clarity, and conviction that only come from standing firm in the shadows. Big stages don't make leaders. They reveal the ones who have been training all along. Your voice is not a gift, it's a duty. Your voice is not an accessory to be worn only when it's fashionable. It's a responsibility. If you witness injustice and say nothing, you have silently agreed with it. If you know the truth and hide it, you have abandoned it. A gift can be admired from a distance. A duty demands action. The power of speech was not given to you for comfort, gossip, or self-promotion. It was given to build, to defend, to challenge, and to inspire. Your silence might feel like self-protection in the moment, but over time it erodes your very identity. Speaking up isn't about the absence of fear. It's about the presence of loyalty. Loyalty to what is right, no matter the cost. Your words may not change the entire world, but they can transform someone's world entirely. And if you've been entrusted with that kind of power, it's not optional. Use it. Because the most dangerous silence is the one you choose. Section 6, turning backlash into fuel. Critics are proof you've made contact. When you throw a stone into still water, the ripples prove you've hit the surface. Critics are those ripples. They are the proof your words have reached beyond the quiet edges of your own mind and disturbed something that was comfortable being still. If no one is talking, if no one is reacting, it means you haven't touched anything worth moving. The voices that rise against you are not always signs of failure. Often they are signs you've landed your blow. Understand this. The goal of speaking truth is not to make everyone nod. It's to make the stagnant shift, the blind look, the silent question. Every critic is an unintentional signal flare saying, "You got through." Don't waste energy resenting them. Thank them in your mind, because every word they throw back at you confirms your voice carried far enough to matter. That's not a setback, that's progress. The plane takes off against the wind. A pilot will tell you planes don't lift off with the wind at their back, they take off against it. Why? Because resistance creates lift. The very thing pushing against you is the same thing giving you the ability to rise. Life works the same way. Every voice of doubt, every wall of resistance, every person trying to push you back is giving you more force to push up. People think progress is made in clear skies, but the truth is smooth air rarely lifts you anywhere. Opposition isn't just unavoidable, it's necessary. The next time someone tries to block you, don't see it as a wall, see it as a runway. Your words will carry higher because they are spoken into the wind, not away from it. Just like a plane, you will discover that the only way to soar is to lean into the very pressure you thought was holding you down. Turn opposition into motivation, not misery. Backlash has two paths: it can bury you or build you. The choice is yours. If you take every insult, every attack, every misunderstanding personally, you will shrink into yourself, nursing wounds instead of making waves. But if you flip the script, if you turn their doubt into fuel, you will rise while they watch in disbelief. Opposition is not proof you're unworthy, it's proof you're disrupting something that wanted to stay undisturbed. That's a compliment, whether it sounds like one or not. Use every harsh word as a reminder that you're still in the fight. Let their resistance light a fire under your feet, not a weight on your shoulders. Your energy is too valuable to spend on self-pity. Spend it on proving every one of them wrong. Not for revenge, but to remind yourself and the world that their disapproval can't dictate your destiny unless you let it. The greats were rejected before they were respected. History remembers the greats, but it forgets how many doors slammed in their faces first. Martin Luther King Jr. was arrested. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison. Socrates was sentenced to death for corrupting minds with truth. Every person who ever shifted the course of history wore rejection like a second skin, before they wore respect like a crown. People are slow to embrace what challenges them. They mock it, they fight it, they try to erase it, but truth has this strange quality. It survives the years, and those who spoke it are often celebrated long after their critics are forgotten. When you face rejection, remember you are not alone in that struggle. You are walking a road carved by those who were ridiculed before they were revered. And if you endure long enough, the same voices shouting against you now may one day quote you like they always believed. If they can't stop talking about you, you've already won. Silence is the true sign of irrelevance. If no one mentions you, it means you're not even in the room where the conversation matters. So when people can't stop bringing up your name, even in criticism, understand what's really happening. You're taking up space in their minds. You've planted yourself in their thoughts. And whether they like it or not, you've become part of their story. That's influence. That's impact. The world's most powerful voices were talked about endlessly, often in anger, long before they were admired. If you can stand firm through that season, you will find that the same attention used to tear you down can be redirected to build you up. Influence is not about unanimous love, it's about undeniable presence. If they can't stop talking about you, then no matter what they're saying, you've already entered the history they can't write without your name in it. Section 7. Living unmuted. Some people live with the volume down. Don't be one of them. There's a quiet kind of tragedy, not the kind that makes headlines, but the one that silently robs a person of their life. It's when someone chooses to live with the volume of their voice, their dreams and their convictions turned all the way down. They speak only when it's safe. They move only when the crowd moves. They believe deep down that they were meant for more, but they never step into that more. They settle for half volume in a full volume world. Don't be that person. You weren't given your voice to be an echo.
You weren't given your life to be a background track in someone else's story. The world doesn't need another person playing small. It needs people who will turn the dial up, even when the static gets loud. Full volume living isn't reckless. It's refusing to let fear do the talking for you. Stop muting the potential you were given.
Every human being is born with a certain fire. A mix of passion, curiosity, and the capacity to make an impact. But potential is like a song on mute. It exists, but no one can hear it unless you unmute it. Too many people walk through life as if they're waiting for permission to turn their potential on. They underestimate the power of one idea, one act, one word spoken at the right moment. They forget that every breakthrough in history started with someone who decided to stop holding back. When you keep your potential muted, you're not just limiting yourself, you're withholding something the world desperately needs. Maybe your words could inspire, maybe your example could change someone's direction, but no one will ever know if you keep the volume down. The time for subtle, safe, and hidden is over. Turn the sound up. Let the world hear what's been inside you all along. Name the truth you've been afraid to speak. Truth is heavy until you speak it, then it becomes freeing. But here's the thing, you can't fight for something you refuse to name. You can't stand for something you keep hiding inside. For many, the first step to living unmuted isn't a public speech or a grand act of defiance. It's whispering the truth to themselves in a quiet room, admitting this matters to me, declaring I believe this, even if it costs me. Fear will try to convince you that saying it out loud will make it worse. But the opposite is true. Once named, truth grows legs. It starts to move through your life, guiding your actions, shaping your courage, and calling others to follow. You've been carrying unspoken truths long enough. It's time to put them into words. Say them plainly. Write them down. Tell a friend. Then let them guide you no matter how uncomfortable it gets. Speak it. Stand by it. Live it. Speaking the truth is only the first step. Living it is where the real courage shows. Anyone can make a bold statement when emotions are high, but it's in the quiet days after, when no one is cheering and the cost is real, that you find out what you're made of. Standing by your words might mean being misunderstood, criticized, or even abandoned. But if you know your truth is grounded in integrity, you'll find strength in the very resistance you face. Living unmuted means aligning your actions with your convictions, even when it's inconvenient. It's refusing to bend your principles to fit the comfort of the crowd. It's turning your truth from a speech into a lifestyle. The people who change the world aren't just the ones who talk, they're the ones who live in such a way that their life becomes the proof of what they've said. You have more than 47 seconds. Use your lifetime, yes. A few seconds of courage can change everything. But don't stop there. Life gives you more than one chance to speak, more than one moment to act. Every day is an open mic. Every decision is a stage. If you've ever thought, I missed my chance, you haven't. You're breathing, which means the microphone is still in your hands. Living unmuted is about using your entire lifetime to echo what matters. It's about stacking those seconds of courage, day after day, until they form a life story you can be proud of. Don't wait for the big moment. The moment is now, and it will be there again tomorrow, and the day after that. If you believe in something, let your whole life be the megaphone for it. Because when the end comes, the only regret worth fearing is the one where you realize you had the truth and chose to stay silent. Closing, the mic is in your hands. Short moments can change everything. History has never waited for permission. It shifts in seconds. A choice, a sentence, a stand. You don't need a lifetime to ignite change. You need one moment of unshakable clarity. The right words at the right time can pull a truth from the shadows and throw it into the open. Every great speech, every revolution, every act of defiance began in a moment, just like this. And here's the truth. Those moments don't announce themselves. They sneak in disguised as ordinary seconds, until you decide they matter. When they come, you won't have time to rehearse. You'll only have time to decide, will I speak, or will I stay silent? Truth always costs. Pay the price anyway. Truth is expensive. It can cost you friends, comfort, security, and the approval of the crowd. but it buys something no applause can replace: self-respect. When you live in truth, you never have to remember what lie you told last. You stand lighter, freer, untouchable by the weight of deceit. Yes, the cost is real. So is the loneliness, but so is the power. People may turn away when you speak, but some will turn toward you. The ones who are starving for honesty in a world that keeps feeding them noise. Truth is a price that only the brave will pay. And once you've paid it, you'll never want the cheaper life again. Courage is the act of refusing to bend. Courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes it's simply refusing to fold when the pressure builds. It's standing your ground when the easy path is to step back. The world will test your resolve, not once, but again and again. They'll push you to soften your words, dilute your conviction, and make your truth more palatable. That's when courage matters most. Anyone can stand for the truth when the crowd agrees. But when the room grows tense and eyes turn cold, your choice will define you. Courage is not about never feeling fear. It's about refusing to give fear the final word. In those moments you don't just hold the mic, you hold the line. Live like the mic is always live. Imagine the mic is always on. Every word you speak, every silence you choose, broadcast it to the world. Would you speak with more conviction? Would you waste fewer sentences on things that don't matter? The truth is, the mic is always on. Someone is always listening. Your children, your friends, the stranger sitting beside you on the train. Your words have a way of traveling further than you ever intended. Live like the world is recording, because it is. Speak with the kind of urgency that makes people stop and listen. Don't save your fire for the big moments. Life is the big moment, and the mic has been live this whole time. The most dangerous silence is yours. The world is already full of voices trying to drown out the truth. The real danger isn't their noise, it's your silence. Every time you swallow the words you were meant to speak, you hand the stage to the lie. You give power to the very thing you oppose. The enemy of truth doesn't need you to agree. It only needs you to stay quiet. That's why the cost of silence is greater than the cost of speaking. You may not control the reaction your truth receives, but you control whether it's heard at all. And in a time when the world needs truth tellers more than ever, there's only one question left: will you take the mic?